Chapter 1. The Crack in the Chains. The world had known peace for nearly 1,000 years. Children played in streets without fear, nations traded without envy, and the light of the king's reign stretched from horizon to horizon. Jerusalem gleamed like a jewel, its gates never shut, for there was no enemy left to fear. But beneath the earth, far below the rivers and roots, a pit yawned in silence. It was not forgotten, though most dared not speak of it. For within that abyss lay the adversary, bound in chains of fire and sealed by the decree of heaven. For centuries he had raged in silence. His voice could not pierce the veil, his claws could not rend the bonds. Yet hatred is patient, hatred waits. And then, on a night when the stars burned brighter than usual, the silence broke. A sound like grinding stone echoed through the pit. One link, just one, shivered. A hairline fracture split across its surface, glowing faintly red. The chain did not fall, but it weakened. And through that weakness, something seeped. A whisper. At first, it was no more than a sigh, like wind through a cavern. But the sigh grew into a hiss, and the hiss into a voice. The voice of the one who had once been called Morning Star.
Light still burns above me, but I will taste it again.
The pit trembled. From the darkness, a shape began to rise. Not fully, never fully. His body remained shackled, but his head, crowned with horns of molten iron, forced itself through the veil. His face was a ruin of beauty, half burned, half glorious, eyes like twin furnaces. Lucifer had found a crack in eternity. The first signs. In the villages nearest the holy city, the first signs appeared. A farmer woke to find his wheat blackened, writhing with maggots, though the day before it had been golden. A shepherd's flock turned on him, their eyes glazed with madness, tearing him apart before vanishing into the hills. And in the night, children began to dream of a face, vast, terrible, whispering promises of power. Some woke screaming, others woke smiling. The elders brought their concerns to the city gates. Something stirs, they said. The peace is breaking. But who could believe it? The king reigned. His throne was unshaken. How could the enemy rise when he had been cast down? The horror emerges. On the 7th day after the first whisper, the pit split wider. Lucifer's head rose higher, his mouth opening like a furnace door. From his lips poured shadows, phantoms shaped like men, but twisted, their limbs too long, their faces eyeless. They crawled across the land, feeding on fear, mocking the resurrected saints with grotesque parodies of their glory. One such phantom entered a village at dusk. It wore the face of a woman long dead, but her smile was torn too wide, her voice a shriek. She called her children by name, and when they ran to her, she devoured them whole. The villagers fled, crying out for deliverance. The gathering storm.
"Lord," said one of the elders, falling to his knees, "the pit stirs. The adversary's head has risen. What shall we do?"
And the king, seated upon his throne, spoke with a voice that shook the pillars. His chains are not yet broken. He is permitted only a shadow of freedom. But even a shadow can test the hearts of men. Watch, therefore. Stand firm, for the time of sifting has come.
The whispered rebellion. Even as the king spoke, the whispers spread. Not all hearts had truly bowed. Some had obeyed outwardly, but longed inwardly for the old ways, power, pride, dominion. To them, the voice of Lucifer was honey.
Why serve when you could rule? He whispered. Why bow when you could rise?
In secret they gathered, in caves, in ruined temples, in the shadows of the mountains. They painted their faces with ash and swore allegiance to the half-risen king of the pit. And so, even in the midst of paradise, rebellion was born again. That night, a boy stood on a hill outside his village. He had heard the whispers in his dreams, and now he saw the sky above the pit glow red. A colossal face loomed in the distance, half hidden by smoke. Its eyes burned like suns, and its mouth curled into a smile that promised both terror and glory. The boy fell to his knees, trembling.
And from the abyss the voice thundered, "My chains are breaking. My time is not yet, but it comes. And when it comes, the world will bleed."
The boy screamed. The earth shook, and the chapter closed with the sound of rattling chains echoing across creation. Chapter 2. The Phantom War. The boy's scream carried through the valley like a trumpet blast. Villagers rushed from their homes, torches in hand, but when they reached the hill, he was alone, kneeling, trembling, his eyes wide with terror. "What did you see?" they asked. The first assault. That night, the phantoms came. They moved like smoke, slipping through doors and windows, their bodies half-formed, their faces shifting between familiar and monstrous. They whispered in the voices of the dead, calling loved ones by name. One man embraced what he thought was his wife returned from the grave, only to feel her teeth sink into his throat. Another fled into the fields, chased by a shadow that wore his father's face, its laughter echoing like broken glass. The village burned, and above it all, the colossal head of Lucifer loomed on the horizon, his laughter rolling like thunder. The angelic response. At dawn, the sky split open. From the east came a host of angels, their wings blazing with fire, their swords drawn. They descended upon the phantoms, striking them with light so fierce that the shadows shrieked and dissolved into ash.
This is but the beginning. The adversary has found a crack in his chains. He cannot yet walk the earth, but his voice and his venom are loosed. You must cling to the king, or you will be swept away.
The people nodded, but fear lingered in their eyes. For they had seen the face in the smoke, and they knew the pit was not silent anymore. The Council of Shadows.
The king has ruled long enough. We have lived under his light, but what has it given us? Obedience, submission, chains of our own. But the morning star offers freedom.
"Serve me, and I will give you thrones. Serve him, and you will remain dust beneath his feet."
The people fell on their faces, trembling. Some resisted, others swore allegiance, and thus, even in the age of peace, rebellion was born anew. The clash at the river. On the third day, the phantoms gathered in greater numbers. They swarmed toward the river Kedron, where pilgrims were crossing to bring offerings to the king. The angels met them there. Swords of light clashed against claws of shadow. The river boiled as the battle raged, steam rising into the sky. One pilgrim, a young woman carrying a basket of bread, fell to her knees as a phantom lunged at her. But before it could strike, a warrior of heaven stood between them, his blade flashing.
"Stand firm," he told her. "The king has not abandoned you." She clutched the bread to her chest, tears streaming down her face, and whispered, "Then let me not abandon him."
Closing scene of Chapter 2.
Your angels cannot hold me forever. My chains weaken with every heartbeat. And when I rise, your peace will drown in blood.
The angels fought on, their light blazing against the darkness. But in the hearts of men, a question began to stir. If the adversary could rise even here, in the reign of the king, what trial awaited them when his chains finally shattered? The chapter closes with the image of the river running red, not with blood alone, but with the reflection of Lucifer's burning eyes.